welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another episode of Asanas Explained. So in this series we break down some of the most common yoga asanas to get to know them a little bit better and figure them out for ourselves. Today we're looking at Cobra and upward facing dog. These are two asanas that are quite often offered as interchangeable options. So in a class, the teacher may ask you to come into either Cobra or upward facing dog. They are both backbend or heart opening postures, which means that they engage the muscles in the posterior chain, so the muscles along the back of the body. And by doing that, they also open up through the front of the body. So stretching out, for example, the front of the shoulders, front of the hips, the chest, and the abdominals. We would usually begin in our yoga journey by learning Cobra. And then with time, as you become a little bit stronger and more flexible, you may progress onto practicing upward facing dog. I'm going to talk you into both of those postures and I'll let you know some of the most common mistakes and problems that I see with these two poses. So hopefully you can learn a little bit about them and apply it to your own yoga practice. Let's start with Cobra. So we begin in Cobra laying on our front, pointing the toes back with the feet about hip distance apart. The hands are under the shoulders. We keep the elbows tucked in towards the side of the body. We point back through the toes so the glutes are active and the muscles through the back of the body are working as we lift up the chest. Now you don't need to come very high here. We want to try and keep the shoulders down away from the ears, legs pushing down into the ground. We'd usually just take a breath in and on the exhale we'd release back down. So, a couple of common mistakes I see here are the elbows going out really wide and collapsing into the shoulders. So we want to make sure that the muscles in the back are actually active. And if we're in this position, then the muscles in the back are not really doing very much. What I recommend practicing to build the strength you need for Cobra is to float your hands away from the ground. I teach this in classes quite a lot. So float the hands away from the ground, just under the shoulders, keep your elbows tucked in, point the toes and just lift up as much as you can here. Pause for about 3 breaths and feel the muscles throughout the posterior chain switching on and working hard to hold you there. And then come down, take a rest. And the next time you come into a full Cobra with the hands on the ground, maybe start by floating the hands. Find the activation through the muscles, point the toes, and then lightly press into the hands. So the muscles through your back are doing most of the work. The hands are just doing a little bit to help. So now upward facing dog is a stronger back bend, requiring more strength through the arms and shoulders, through the core, through the legs. Really, it's a tough full body strengthening posture. Usually it will be taught by coming down into chaturanga and then lifting through to upward facing dog. So I'll demonstrate that first. So from a plank you would come down into chaturanga, push forwards and lift up. And you can see I've flipped onto the front of my feet. I'm pushing down through the hands and lifting up through the chest. Pointing the toes back and I'm keeping my legs off the ground, or my knees off the ground. And then you might come out of it by lifting the hips up and going straight back to downward facing dog. So that's part of quite a traditional sequence or a vinyasa. I personally don't really like to teach chaturanga because most people struggle with it, at least initially. It requires quite a lot of strength to be able to move safely through chaturanga. So I tend not to teach chaturanga in my classes, or only if I know that the students coming along have been practicing for a while and have a certain level of strength already. So another way you could come into it is by doing essentially a half chaturanga, dropping to the knees and then lifting into upward facing dog from there. So from a plank, we shift the weight forwards, lower the knees down, untuck the toes, press down into the feet, lift up through the chest, press the feet down into the ground and lift the knees from there. So that's another way you could come in that is a little bit gentler, or quite a lot gentler on the shoulders. So something I see here as a common mistake or problem area, similarly to Cobra, it's collapsing in the shoulders, crunching through the neck and the legs becoming really lazy. So I will show you what that looks like. So lazy legs would mean knees are on the ground, maybe the heels are dropping out, crunching up with the neck and collapsing in the shoulders. So this would be an example of quite a lazy upward facing dog. So what we want to do instead is bring your head so you're looking forward, so the neck is longer. Push through the hands and lift up out of the shoulders. Press the tops of the feet down into the ground. See if you can float the knees off the ground, engaging the glutes to hold that position. So everything's really active. We're pressing down through the hands, pressing through the front of the feet. So as I said before, in a lot of classes you'll be given the option to do either Cobra or upward facing dog. I always recommend working with Cobra until you're really confident with it and your body is strong in that shape. And then maybe you start to work into upward facing dog. I always start with Cobra when I'm practicing, and maybe once I'm warmed up, I might go into upward facing dog. It's about what feels best in your body. So play around with both of those poses, see what works best for you. Be kind and careful with your body, respect your body's limits and any injuries or conditions that might make these poses problematic for you, and just go from there. It really doesn't matter how high you're able to lift in these poses. The most important thing is that you are engaging the right muscles, that you are working those muscles throughout the back of the body, that you're opening up through the front, and you're not collapsing into the shoulders or crunching the neck back. So we want to keep the neck nice and long, arms active, back active. So I hope you found that helpful. If you find that upward facing dog just really doesn't feel good in your body, if you have any problems with your wrists or shoulders, it may be that it's just a little bit too intense or a little bit too challenging for you at the moment, then it's always an option to stay with Cobra. You never feel like you have to push yourself beyond your safe limit to go into a pose that your body doesn't appreciate or isn't ready for. So listen to your body and choose which pose you want to practice accordingly. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, remember to click the like button, leave me a comment below, let me know what other poses you would like me to break down in this series. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel for new videos from me every week. Thanks again, I'll see you next time.